because it's not an item that you have to have, Karen.
All day.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. It is Clemson week again. I am back on my bullshit, but I wanted to do a little video here because I saw a TikTok video that went viral complaining about this, and I see a lot of people complaining about this, and I just wanted to kind of dive into it a little bit. So, selling a PS5 above retail price is in no way illegal, and it doesn't matter what any stupid Karen or stupid person really tries to tell you. There is nothing illegal about selling a PS5 above retail price. Now, some people will say, well, there's a moral issue there, and that's for them to really kind of dwell on, because I don't believe there is. There is basically a free market out here, and everything is controlled by supply and demand. And believe it or not, prices are not really set by retailers. They are set by demand, and they are set by the market. And the biggest example I can give of that is Big Baller Brand, right? When LeVar Ball brought Big Baller Brand to the table, he just decided he was going to go right to China, source all the labor in China. So he was making, $5 shoes at the most, $5-10 shoes. And then he just decided arbitrarily that he was going to make the price $220 of them. But the demand is not there. Now compare that to Yeezy, where he sets the price at $225 and the demand is certainly there. What happened to our Ball and the Big Baller Brand compared to Yeezy and the Yeezy brand, right? Demand dictated which one of those survived. Big Baller Brand died because nobody wanted those shoes for $220. I do believe that if he had set the price point much lower at like $50 to $75, maybe even $100, people would have actually probably bought the Big Baller Brand shoes, and they would have enjoyed them. They would have been just as bad as, if not worse, than other branded shoes that are also made, in China and Indonesia and places like that they can outsource the labor for cheap. But the demand just wasn't there. So these shoes just kind of flopped. And Yeezy, you're thinking, well, it's pretty much the same thing, but for whatever reason, Yeezy creates that demand that people want the shoe, and he sells tons of them. I mean, they sell out at $225. You can't even get your hands on them. And then people resell them. So that's no different than PlayStation and, I guess, Xbox, Microsoft setting prices of their stuff. And the reason why it's not price gouging to sell something above retail is there is no actual price of something to begin with. Now, there's input costs, but everything that these companies are selling, they are selling way above input costs. And what I mean by input costs are the time and labor it takes to make them, and the actual materials that go into making them. And to make a PS5, I can tell you right now, it doesn't cost $500 per unit on those to do it. So PlayStation, what they are very good at is controlling supply early on to create an excess of demand, and then the price of $500 is easily met. People have no problem paying that price, but actually demand is greater than that price, and so people are able to capitalize on that and sell the product for more than $500. If there was no demand at, say, $700, $800, $900, then no one would be able to sell that product. So you can't put the brunt of it on the companies, or on the reseller rather, because they aren't the one that creates the demand. They just recognize the demand and go out and capitalize on it, right? And then, so there's a lot of people that try to tell you that this is actually a law, that price gouging is illegal. And that part is true. Price gouging is illegal. But on a PS5, that's not a necessity, so it's not illegal. And I grew up in Florida, so the best example of actual price gouging that I can give you is during a hurricane, and I've seen this with my own eyes, it's terrible. During a hurricane, people will start to raise the prices on things like plywood boards, like the boards that people cover their windows with in Florida, and people start to raise the prices. That is 100% illegal, because you're talking about something that's a necessity that people are raising the price on to capitalize on a tragic event. And then the other side of that is sometimes people will tell you, well, it all has to do with the state of emergency. Selling anything above retail is illegal during a state of emergency. also not true. That's where the price gouging comes in, and the items, and obviously this is going to be something that takes place in court litigation if you ever get pinned for price gouging. But if you were caught selling plywood above MSRP or above, a reasonable price, the normal price, and other items like that apply, like gasoline, things people need, right? If you start to raise the price, and I've seen it with my own eyes, gas stations tried to raise the price on gas during Hurricane Andrew, and that's where a lot of these laws came about, right? Because it's just terrible that people would do that. So when there's a state of emergency, it's necessities that you cannot sell above a certain price cap, and they will actually come out and price cap these items for you. And some items at all times have a price cap, and I do believe gasoline is one of those items. And then if you really want to know a little bit more about this, you need to study inelastic and elastic, basically the elasticity of demand. And you'll learn that some products, it doesn't matter what you charge for them, somebody will pay the price. And other products, it does matter what you charge. The higher you charge, the less likelihood someone's going to buy it. And 9 times out of 10, the items that can be considered price gouging are the items that no matter what price you charge, someone is willing to buy it, because that tells you that that item needs a price cap, or that item isn't affected by demand, and therefore there must be something else driving the demand of this product. And a lot of times, like something like gasoline is something just like that. I can tell you right now that people need gasoline so much that if you charged $5 a gallon for it, people would pay it, right? You would have to pay it. You would have to go fill your tank at $5 a gallon, and there's nothing you could do about it. So the government has to step in that situation, right? Because everyone would just charge like $100 a gallon for gas because everyone needs it so bad. So that's the difference between what items are actually considered price gouging and what items aren't considered price gouging. Now again, we talked about the state of emergency. That is very, very true, but it doesn't apply to commodities that aren't necessities like a PlayStation 5. And the best example of that I can give is earlier this year, in like the early part of the year, if you were selling, and let me just preface this by saying I have not sold a PS5 yet, right? I have not sold a PlayStation 5. I don't flip games because they're super hard to get, and I don't think the time and effort that you put in for that kind of return is worth it. But I would like to get one myself. But anyways, going back to the beginning of the year, if somebody was selling like masks, like the face masks, like every retailer in the world is capitalizing on now and selling for profit. But if you were doing it in January, February, you were okay, right? If you were pulling them off the shelves and selling them overseas or doing whatever you were doing. Same thing with hand sanitizer. I'm not going to say that these were morally okay things to do. I'm just saying that in January and February, it was perfectly 100% legal to go out and do those things. Once the state of emergency gets put in place, once we're saying, hey, this is an actual pandemic, this is a state of emergency, that is the very day that we do that, it becomes illegal to sell sanitizer and masks above retail price, above a reasonable price, right? And state attorney generals by state will investigate those cases and go through and say, hey, you were selling this for too much, that's a good acceptable price, right? They will be the ones to determine that, not you, not the market, not anyone else. Your lawyers can try to fight it, whatever, if you had gotten into something like that. I tried to avoid something like that and didn't get involved, and so I didn't get trouble. But I know a lot of people that dealt with a lot of headaches because of it, and it's all because they decided to keep selling after the state of emergency was declared, which to me was a no-brainer, dumb move, right? Like, not a no-brainer, like, no, you have no brain. Like, that's what you were doing when you were selling that stuff. So after the state of emergency, of course, I think like early on, people really couldn't have predicted that it was going to get that bad, and that's why they were capitalizing on masks and sanitizer early on. Not excusing it, just saying that it wasn't the worst thing in the world when we didn't know what was going on. But again, back to the PlayStation 5. So what is it about a PlayStation or a Nintendo or a video game that gets the Karens of the world? And if your name's actually Karen, I'm sorry, that's just a figure of speech, and we use that to describe a trouble customer or somebody that just complains or wants to speak to the manager, those kind of people, right? So what is it about a PlayStation 5 that gets those type of people up in arms? I really don't know. So if you can comment in the comments and maybe shed some light on what, because Everything in the world is sold above the input cost, right? That's if you weren't selling it above input cost, then you wouldn't be in a capitalist society. You wouldn't be profiting on the item, and you'd have no interest in making that item. I can tell you right now, like all these companies that are pumping out hand sanitizer and pumping out masks that previously weren't, they're doing it because they can still profit on it. They're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart, whether you like to believe that or not. Early on, they might have been to create PPE for nurses and stuff like that, but that's different than like, you know, Cody company selling hand sanitizer. They're profiting on that because there's a market for it right now. Everyone's jumping in the boat. They're not selling it for net zero gain. They're selling it for profit. And so I commend the people early on that, you know, made PPE for free at no cost. They weren't profiting off of it. They were just donating their time and then asking for the price that paid them for their supplies, materials, and maybe a little bit of their time, but that's all they were doing. They weren't profiting off of it. Now everyone's profiting off it. Hanes is making masks, right? I can tell you right now, Hanes isn't selling those masks for a net zero. They're selling them probably at the same profitable rate that they sell underwear and t-shirts for. So, you know, that's something that you need to look into. But if you're really wondering about profit on those items, there's definitely profit on those items. Now, so what is it about a PlayStation 5? I really don't know. I don't know what it is that gets people up in arms so much about a PlayStation 5. But they do, and that's what it is. And another example I wanted to give of a company that sells everything above MSRP, above retail, even above what the other retailers sell it above, is Kohls, right? But nobody goes into Kohls and says, hey, you guys are price gouging. You guys are totally price gouging. But they are price gouging if your definition of price gouging is selling something above retail price, right? And you can tell me that, oh, Kohls gives you all these discounts and stuff, but you have to be a rocket scientist to figure out how to use some of the Kohls discounts sometimes. I honestly don't even know if their thing is on sale or not sometimes, because it's like take 40% off when you buy $100 worth of 20% off of 30% of 14%. When you use your Kohls cash, then you'll get $15 back in rewards. And you're like, I don't know what if I saved money or if I spent money today, right? I really don't know. I don't ever know. And so Kohls has created that environment in their store, and people are kind of just none the wiser to it. Now, obviously, you know when you're paying more for something than you are somewhere else, but Kohls hasn't gone out of business yet. Kohls is still doing well. The company, well, I wouldn't say doing well. The company was kind of in trouble before, but again, like they aren't price gouging, right? They're just selling for prices that they decide that they want to make. And the market will tell them whether they made the right price or not. Now, when we were talking earlier about, you know, capitalizing a little bit on your labor, that's kind of what selling a PS5 is, right? Because in order to score a PS5, you either had to wait online and do the quick draw McGraw, or have a bot, which costs money and is hard to have. And if you want to buy a bot and you're not that kind of like genius that can build one, it costs a lot of money, right? So you want to get some return on that. And I'm not saying it's the best thing in the world. I'm just saying these are the type of things you're capitalizing on. Or you had to go wait in line, right? And you spent all your time in the world waiting in line outside of a store. That time, that effort, that skill, that ability to score things online, that time that you put into it, that money you spent on a bot, whatever it was that got you to score the PS5, that's worth money. And that's what you're capitalizing on when you sell a PS5 above MSRP. You're capitalizing on A, the person's demand that they just simply can't wait till after Christmas to have this, like I am, because I'm just going to wait till February and buy one then and not pay these asinine prices. But if somebody has to have one before that, of course I would. In fact, if I found one for myself and somebody wanted to buy it, I would have just sold it to them and then rebought it in February, because I'm not stupid, right? I don't need to have one. So it's the need to have one that costs the extra $200, $300, $400. It's not the actual PlayStation 5. It's not my fault or whoever's selling it fault. It's the need to have it, plus my time that it took me to get it, plus my ability to get it, plus my knowledge in how to get it to you, and all of the above, right? And if you bought a bot and all of that. But you know, some people scored it straight up. I know people that bought them for their kids that scored it straight up. I know people that just went in and bought one online and did it that way. But again, this isn't something that I get into because it's not really scalable. Unless you own a bot, you couldn't really get your hands on more than one or two of them. And for me, that's just not where I'm at with my business. I'm trying to sell multiples of the same item over and over again and keep doing it that way. But I did want to come to the defense of people that went out and grabbed PS5s and sold them, because it's not a crime. Under any circumstances is it a crime, not during a state of emergency, not during a state of emergency, because it's not an item that you have to have, Karen, okay? So that's why it does not matter, okay? And so I wanted to come to the defense of people doing it there today and let everyone know in the entire world that it's okay to sell things above retail if they aren't a necessity, like gasoline or boards on your window during a hurricane or hand sanitizer or face masks during a pandemic, and it is okay to do it. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. If you disagree, go ahead and vent in my comments. I don't care. You'll just boost me. But if you do understand, because this is the question that I have that I'm coming out of this all with, is what is it about a PlayStation 5 that causes people to get up in arms when you sell it above retail price? But anything else, which I'll just give you a little hint. Almost anything you're buying on Amazon, you're paying above retail price for it. And it's because people have built-in value. They added value to it. They've saved you time, whatever. And you don't complain about it. But whenever you buy a PS5 for above price, you complain about it. And I don't understand it. I don't know what it is about PlayStation 5s and games specifically that causes people to lose their mind. But I'd really like to know. So if you understand that and you know the answer to that, go ahead and comment in my comments. If not, go ahead and share the video, talk about it with a friend, or go ahead and like the video if you like the video. But in the meantime, keep on flipping.